today. Today we are talking about how I actually use affirmations to change my brain, how you can use affirmations to reprogram the automatic thoughts that you have in your mind that come up over and over so that we can conquer those disempowered beliefs, turn them into empowering ones, and create the life of our wildest dreams, right? Isn't that what we're all here to do? So if you're jumping on, say hello. Let me know in the chat. We had some technical difficulties today. I had originally planned for this stream to be on a previous link that was not working, so may take a little while for people to find us, but here we go. Okay, working, awesome. So when you're jumping on, say hello. Whether you're watching live, drop in the chat. If you're watching on the replay, say hello in the comments. So I want to talk today about how to use affirmations to change your brain, right? So we come into the world with fresh brains, right? No disempowered beliefs, right? Nothing stopping us, nothing in our way, no beliefs that we aren't good enough or that we're not worthy or that we're not capable, right? And then things happen to us. Things happen along the way that cause us to formulate beliefs or thoughts, right? They cause us to formulate thoughts that, when repeated often enough, become our beliefs, right? So if we have a thought of something that happened to us as a child, created a thought, that thought gets repeated over and over as we grow up, that thought becomes a belief. That belief then becomes an automatic thought that we get to battle with, right? So affirmations are one method of reprogramming those automatic thoughts that we developed over time that aren't serving us, because we have thoughts that are empowered and we have thoughts that are disempowered, right? And we're not worried about the empowered ones, the good thoughts, the thoughts about how we believe in ourselves, the self-compassion thoughts, the self-kindness, right? All of that stuff. But then a lot of us will have thoughts that are disempowering, that are just self-discouraging, right? That are even, just negative self-talk, right? Those kinds of things. So because of that, there's a few different methods, a few different channels you can go down to battle those kinds of thoughts, right? You can use a method of diffusing from the thoughts, right? Cognitive diffusion, where you try to separate yourself from the thought and allow the thought to just float by, right? Or you can actually try to replace the thought with a new empowered thought that will form new neural pathways, right? So that's what we're doing when we're using affirmations. We are taking those old beliefs that were not serving us, shifting them into empowered stories that we would desire to believe, right? And then to tell ourselves that empowered story over and over until that becomes the new belief that kind of stamps out the negative self-talk, right? So if that's making sense, let me know in the chat. Let me see if the comments are working. Live chat. Okay, I think we're good. Yes, I think we're good. So let me know if you're jumping on. Awesome. Okay, so I actually posted on my Facebook and my Instagram this week a little bit about the affirmations that I use every day. So my particular affirmation practice, and I'm going to pull this up so I can talk through them a little bit with you guys, the affirmations I actually use. But the way I have used affirmations is that I prefer to write them down and say them out loud, right? So using one of your senses is better than none, two of your senses is better than one, et cetera, right? So we're reinforcing this thought by thinking it, then we're reinforcing this thought by writing it, and then we're reinforcing it by speaking it, right? So I love the power of a good affirmation, right? So the affirmations that I use are all things that I have derived from disempowered thoughts that I had or things that I was struggling with, right? So for example, I have an affirmation that is, today I will focus on reasons to feel good, right? And I use that affirmation strategically because I know that my depressed version of my mind or some disempowered versions of my mind are looking for things to complain about, right? Or are looking for things that aren't going well, or are looking for, evidence for other stories that I might be telling myself, right? And we have this sort of like self-fulfilling prophecy kind of situation where when we believe something, we look for evidence to find that it's true. And so that's often why people, love to watch shows and listen to, podcasts and all the things that agree with their current beliefs, right? We don't often go out and seek out things that are opposing our beliefs. Usually when we go listen to content or follow things or watch things, we're confirming our current beliefs. We're listening to people who agree with us, right? So this just challenge of affirmations is to be the opposite voice from the negative self-talk, right? To be the voice that says, no, today I will look for reasons to feel good, right? And to get off of that negativity train, right? So another affirmation I use is I take great care of my mind, body, heart, and soul. Now, for me, one of the reasons I use that is because it's a reminder to me. It's not just an affirmation of, oh, good job, Lily, for taking good care of yourself. It's a reminder to me that this is an important principle in my life, to take great care of my mind, body, heart, and soul. So some of the affirmations that I use are things that I want to remind myself of, things that I don't want to forget, things that I want to become like a very easily accessible principle or rule in my life. Another one of those that is similar to that is something that I learned that I never wanted to forget, so I turned it into an affirmation, which is reality is neutral. I choose the meaning I attach. So I turned this idea that reality is neutral into an affirmation that I write and say, because I found it to be so important for me to internalize this lesson, that I turned it into an affirmation to internalize the lesson. Now, at some point, maybe I'll take it off my affirmation list and I will stop practicing it on a regular basis because I'll feel that it's been so ingrained that I don't need the affirmation practice to really, truly, deeply know it anymore. And that's the beautiful thing about, your affirmation practice is yours. You can swap things out as you want to. You can create new ones. You can change them. You can do all kinds of things, right? Like I have, depending on, on where I am in my life, I've changed the list of affirmations I've used. I've changed individual affirmations, the wording, things like that. So I think what I found the really important thing about an affirmation practice is making it your own, and making it something that you enjoy, making it something you want to do. Because when you're doing something repetitively, if you don't enjoy it, then it's going to be really hard to turn that into a habit. It's going to be a real challenge to turn that into something that you do regularly if it's not enjoyable. So some ways that I've found to make my affirmation practice enjoyable sometimes are like, I love to write with a really nice pen, right? So I now only buy certain kinds of pens that I know I really like to write with. And when I use them, for my affirmation practice, it's like I am kind of like creating a more mindful experience, if that makes sense. Because the more senses that I engage and that I notice, the more mindful and present that I am in the moment. And that's a side note in and of itself, is that our senses are a great way to bring us back to the present moment, just by noticing, observing what we're seeing, what we're smelling, hearing, tasting, touching, right? Thinking even, noticing what we're thinking in the moment, right? So finding ways to make that practice really enjoyable is going to really serve you in the long run, because it's really not a fun experience to force yourself to do a habit you really hate. So another thing that I found was I was getting a little bit sort of bored, I guess, in my affirmation practice. And so what I started doing, like I had been doing them to where I would write it and then I would close my eyes, I would put my hands over my heart, I would take a deep breath. Did you take a deep breath? I did. Thought it would be a good opportunity to take one. So what I would do is I would write the affirmation, I would put my pen down, I would close my eyes, I put my hands on my heart, I would take a deep breath, and then I would say the affirmation, and then I would envision it. So, for example, I have an affirmation that has gone through many different versions, and it's I receive millions for my impact. So that that affirmation has been a lot of things in the past, depending on what resonated with me. The first affirmation, the first iteration of that affirmation that I used was I earn 6 figures in my business. And what I found was that didn't really do it for me. That didn't really capture that excitement of what I'm really creating. And so and it also didn't capture the purpose for me, right? A business is like a very technical word, right? And what the truth for me is that I want to receive millions of dollars for creating a massive impact on millions of people, right? Or 1,000 people or 100,000 people or whatever it is. So to me, I changed that affirmation into a new iteration over time that is I receive millions for my impact. And that to me then resonates, right? So and kind of excites me and activates me and is something that I can envision. So what I would do is I would write that, for example, I receive millions for my impact. And then I would put my pen down, I would close my eyes, I would put my hands over my heart, I would take a deep breath. I receive millions for my impact. And then I would sit there and I would envision it. And I would imagine what that is going to look like. I would imagine what that's going to feel like, what I'm going to be doing, the woman that I will be, who I need to become to make that a reality, and like leaning into that. And maybe this is, one of the reasons that I have so little doubt about what I'm capable of and what's next for me, because I've seen it before I can see it, right? I know what it is. I know where I'm going. I see these visions. I know where I'm headed, right? I have intentionality around what I'm doing. And that doesn't mean that there's intentionality around every little move, right? But there's a greater picture and purpose and vision driving me, right? And that's something that an affirmation like and so that's sort of the difference. So like if you think about if I had this mantra or affirmation that said, I earn 6 figures in my business, and I put my hand over my heart and I close my eyes, I earn 6 figures in my business. Just like not that exciting. There's no like real like oomph. Like I'm not like, wow, I can envision that being so different, right? For me, that's not going to be very different, than what I'm doing now. Like it's not that far off, right? So it might feel like you might have to sort of play with these to see what really resonates for you to create what you're trying to create, right? I have another affirmation that I started using, that I created for myself and started using when my son was going through a lot of struggles with separation anxiety. And that one is, I have a happy, healthy child. And I would write it and I would say it. And at the time that I first started using it, he would really struggle with being apart from me, because when I was being treated for cancer, I had to go to Houston for treatment, and he was in Las Vegas while I was being treated, and he was afraid I wouldn't come home. So he developed this severe separation anxiety. So he was in this really like hard place when I started using this affirmation, I have a happy, healthy child. And I would do the same practice, right? I would write it, I would close my eyes, I would breathe, I would say it, and I would envision him feeling happy and healthy and living his best life and growing up and feeling good and just all of the things, right? And that allowed me to hold space for him to be healthy, right? It allowed me to, it gave me hope. It gave me a sense of, I can see this working out, right? I have belief that this is possible. And if you don't believe in something, it's very hard to make it come true, right? So to have that sense of, I believe and see this as being not only possible, but inevitable, right? This ability to shape your future with what you see now, what you envision now, right? So there, I have a lot of different affirmations that I use for different purposes, for different reasons. I would love, if you're watching, whether you're watching live or on the replay, drop into the chat if you have ever used an affirmation before. Let me know. Drop a 1 in the chat, or let me know, have you ever used affirmations? I'm curious if this is something that you guys have tried. Let me know in the chat if you haven't. As well, I'm curious if this is something that you will try going forward, if you think this is something that would be interesting to you. I will show you actually the book I use and how I do it. So I do it as a part of my morning gratitude practice, etc., etc. Gratitude, coffee, whatever. And I just have a book like this that I use, and I have my pen, and I just write them in my book, right? And it's just pages and pages and pages of affirmations. Literally, you can see that's all it is. And it's actually pretty cool because I have my old ones, right? So this could be fun. So here we go. Let's see. I have my old ones. So I have affirmations from November 7th, 2017, right? So I can go look back and see what I was creating, what, if any of it came true, what still resonates for me, what I've grown out of, right? All of this stuff. So it really has been a practice that has really changed my life a lot. Truthfully, it has. It's been something that has allowed me to really come out of some patterns, right, of negative thoughts. But not only that, like the thing that has been more impactful than anything for me about using affirmations has been the availability of that belief when I need it. So what that means is that when I'm in a moment where I'm struggling with something, this principle or lesson or thought or mantra is readily available to my mind, right? So it's an automatic thought, right? So like now I might have the thought that this is hard, I can't do it, I'm gonna fail, I can't succeed, I'm not good enough, blah, 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 right? If one of those thoughts comes up, say like, this is too hard, I can't do it, I have another thought, my other brain instantly says, I can do hard things, because that's an affirmation that I use, right? And so it's like it's almost like, as you're growing up, as you're forming these beliefs throughout your childhood, throughout your adulthood, throughout your life, through your experiences, as you're forming some of these disempowering beliefs, they are being told to you over and over and over, or experience told to you by yourself over and over and over that this is true. And you're kind of like beefing up your negative self-talk, right? And this negative self-talk has a lot of power, a lot of energy behind it. These beliefs have a lot of energy behind them. And when we start to put energy into our counter beliefs, when we start to put energy into our affirmations and our mantras and our principles and lessons and values that we want to remember, then it's like you're strengthening it's funny, I have like a black on here and like rainbow on here is like, this is your negative self-talk, and like this is your empowered affirmation voice, right? So you can think of it like that, right? But you're strengthening that empowered voice to talk back to the beliefs, right? So you're really strengthening your ability to be resilient against the negative self-talk, and your ability to combat the negative self-talk, and your ability to combat disempowerment, your ability to grasp and reach for hope, and grasp and reach for belief, and grasp and reach for faith. It becomes to where it's right there that it's easier and easier to grab onto. So that's what I wanted to share today. I hope that was valuable. If it was, let me know in the comments. Let me know that this was helpful, that you liked it. And feel free to jump on over to any of the other videos and binge those as well on my YouTube channel. I love you guys all. I will be on tomorrow doing a live stream at 2 p.m. Pacific time, 5 p.m. Eastern time, for a little just chatting, chill stream. So show up for that if you want to. Like, subscribe, do all the things, hit the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe, hit the bell. There's a lot of things to click around here. Just click all of them except the thumbs down and we'll be good. All right, love you guys. Bye.